Welcome to Metals, Money, and Markets, week ending November 10th, 2017, Veterans Day weekend. For MiningClips.com, I'm Rob Goodman, and with me, as always, to break it down, Mickey Fulp, the Mercenary Geologist. Well, Mickey, tax cuts in neutral and Trump talking tough on trade in Asia are probably the top stories here. Let's get right at it and turn to the metals, where decent week overall for the precious metals, but a rough ending to it today.
Well, the real story of the week, I think, has been tax reform. And by Wednesday, the market surged and the dollar was up on the idea that we're going to get a tax reform bill eased through Congress. But then the Senate and the House Republicans started to quibble and squabble, and it looks like it is indeed in neutral now. Meanwhile, we had Trump on the bully pulpit in Asia, mainly about trade and resource nationalism in the U.S. We kind of like that, quit being victims and being protagonists. The market, gold had a pretty good week, actually. It hit a weekly high of 1287 overnight Thursday. And then 4 million ounces of paper gold sold by a hedge fund, a trader, at 11 a.m. Eastern today, knocked $10 off the gold price. Yet it still closed up on the week, $6 at 1275. Platinum and silver both had similar patterns over the week. Silver up a nickel, 1685. Platinum up, $8, nearly nearly a percent to 927. Palladium had quite the week. It hit a multi-year, 16, 17-year high over $1,000 at 1,018 on Wednesday before it pulled back on, I presume, is profit taking.
And meanwhile, copper off a bit this week.
Yeah, well, copper was up last week a bit, 2 cents. It was down a nickel this week. It started the week at 315 and had 4 down days. It's pushing a 1-month low right now at 307, about a penny off that. Very thinly traded futures markets. The open interest is at a month low or something like that. Chinese imports month over month of down. But of encouragement, Rob, is that it remains robustly in contango on the 1 to 6 month future curves.
And moving over to the energy markets, where the top story has to be uranium. Tremendous week for uranium, but not a bad week for oil either.
Yeah, WT had a very good week. Spent most of the week above $57. Was off a bit today on U.S. rig count, going up a total of 9 drilling rigs. Closed the week at 56.87, but still for a 2% gain. A couple of other things going on. The Brent to WT arbitrage is at a 2-year high at $7. That's very good for U.S. exports. The Saudi Crown Prince has come in and started purging his relatives and throwing them in jail as he consolidates power. Venezuela closer to default with a $1 billion payment due on November 2nd. No one seems to know if that's made, so perhaps they have already defaulted. Meanwhile, the real story this week is uranium. This came out on Wednesday that Cameco was shutting down both its McArthur River mine, world's largest uranium mine, which produces about 10% of production, and also the Key Lake mill up in the Athabasca. Uranium closed at 22.75, up 12.5% over the week.
And moving on to the currency markets, the U.S. dollar breaks that winning streak in the red this week, and as expected, the euro and loonie gain a little ground on it.
Yeah, the dollar had a bit of a mixed week. Dropped today. It was off 0.6%, closed at 94.38. A lot of that has to do with the tax bill jitters. Of course, the euro reacted positively to that, up to $1.17, up 0.5%. And loonie also had a good week, closing at 0.7887, nearly 97 cents, up 60 cents a week. And I think that probably has something to do with oil.
And finishing up with the equity markets, red for the first time in a while, but new highs midweek. couldn't hold on to it, but still not off by much here.
No, they really weren't. We had highs on Wednesday of all three major U.S. markets, then off as once again these tax reform jitters set in. And there's some rumor that some of the smart monies get a little jittery in this market. That said, Dow closed at 23,422, off 0.5% over the week. S&P 500 2582, down 6 points for the week. That's not much. NASDAQ down 13 points on the week to 6751. One thing I noticed today that the VIX surged today from below 10 all the way up to 11.3 or something like that. We haven't seen this for probably nearly a month. And once again, I have to think that has to do with the jitters that we may not get a tax reform bill. The goal was over Thanksgiving, and I don't think that's going to happen, Rob.
And buttoning up with the Venture Exchange, modest 2-week winning streak.
Yeah, well, the Toronto Venture Exchange was a bit higher, not that much higher, up 4 points to 796 on a week. But it was higher on much higher volumes. We averaged more or less 98 million shares traded this week. We have not seen these sorts of consistent volumes since February. But I have to caution, this is tax loss selling right now, and we expect that to continue until through the second to third week of December.
Okay, Mickey, keep our eye on the wire as always and see how this tax cut shakes out and how Trump's trip to Asia works out. Appreciate the insight as always. Have a great weekend.
All right, thanks a lot, Rob.